Hello, everybody. Today we are going to do our Sheffield preview. Sheffield's coming up, the biggest meet in powerlifting, and it's only getting bigger. We got 12 of the best men and 12 of the best women on the planet, and they're going to be battling based off world record to see who comes out on top and wins a massive cash prize. So we're going to start today with the woman, and for the woman, we got 12. So we've got 147 kilo lifter Tiffany Chapone, multiple time world champion, and at the first Sheffield, she's coming back. In the 52s, we have the same rematch as last year. We have both Noemi and Evie coming back. In the 57s, we have Jod coming back, but this time with a battle against Natalie, a rematch from Worlds instead of Joy. We have no 63s, so in the 69s, we've got a three-way battle between Agata Shitgo coming down from the 76s, and Leah Bavois and Carola Gara. Then in the 76s, we've got Carlina. The 84s, we've got Amanda. And in the 84 pluses, we've got Brittany Schlater, the world champion from Canada, and Sonita. So let's just start. What we're going to do is we're going to start with giving our predictions and where people are going to land. And we're going to first do the top half, and then we'll move on to the bottom half. And we'll start with our sixth place finisher by projections. Adriana, who do you think is going to come in sixth?
All right. In my rankings for number 6, I have got Brittany Schlater, 84 kilo plus world champion. She executes like an insane amount. Like she has a really high hit rate. She used to have like kind of a deadlift problem with her grip, but since then she's fixed that. She's notoriously known for not really going heavy in training or not even like posting anything like not really posting. Like she's not that big on posting a lot on social media. And she has said in other podcasts that she doesn't really go heavy in training. Even so, when you're looking at her training, she's hitting bench PRs, not really showing any singles, but that's kind of normal. But on her deadlift, she hit 255 kg in the gym when her PR on the platform is 257.5. And it looked like easy. Like it looked like she could have had like 7.5, 10 kilos, you know? Um, so that's kind of my reasoning for having her in this place. Not any higher because we'll get to them later. Like there's some classes where the world record is just like proportionately a little lower, but I still have her breaking the 700 kilo mark. I think she's going to go around 707.5 and solidify that sixth place.
Okay. Ish, who do you got for number six?
All right, so for me, I have Sonita at number 6. So the reason I have Sonita at number 6 is because if I've added up her training, her squat that she just done recently, she just squatted like 301 kilos, which is absolutely ridiculous as a super heavyweight female. I think might be the first 300 kg squat from a raw female ever, at least from what I can see. Yeah, and it looked like she had more in the tank as well. So she got, I'd say she could probably go 305. Bench, she said that her bench and deadlift has been impacted by a squat fatigue, but she did bench 142.5, which is her, which looked kind of comfortable, which is her meet PR. Deadlift is a bit hard to tell because I think she has a lot in her deadlift, but she also seems to have some sort of lockout issues. Um, Lockout issues with because her thighs are so big, it makes it hard for her to lock out. So for bench, I've got her about 145, and her deadlift, I'm thinking 260 to just chipping the world record, somewhere around that range. So I think I have her total at about 710 to 718.5 kg. Brittany, I was debating between Sunita and Brittany for this place, but the reason I have Sunita ahead is just that massive squat, and she posts more often. And obviously, as Adriana said before, Brittany is notorious for not posting her heavy lifts. But I do think Brittany will out deadlift Sunita because her deadlift from Wells last year, even though she did less than Sunita, it looked very easy, and also in training, her deadlifts are looking very easy as well. She's notorious for deadlifting a lot more. So I think she'll just chip Sunita for deadlift world record. But in terms of total, I think Sunita will finish ahead of her.
So it's interesting. I actually also have Sonita for sixth. So far we're on the same page. Now, for me, it's a little interesting because I think it would be very, very, very difficult for Sonita to crack the top five. But I can see her falling anywhere below six, like all the way down to 10. Like I have her ceiling, I think, is sixth. Like you discussed, her squat is crazy. She's gonna shatter the world record. And her bench is looking stable, probably around the same. I also have her at 145, like a 2.5 kilo PR. Now, the two things I'm slightly worried about, I'm still projecting her to hit them, but I'm slightly worried is deadlift. So obviously, she has a big deadlift, and in the past, she's put pretty big numbers up in the gym. But if you've looked at her training, she does look like a decent amount bigger than she has been in previous. And in general, like as you get bigger over a certain point, your deadlift becomes harder. It's harder to lock out. Your quads get in the way. You just have a bigger chance of getting reds, like one red, two reds, and they're going to be pretty strict on judging. Also, she might want to try take a shot at the deadlift world record, which is 268. 268, yeah.
Yeah, 268.
268, right. So I think if she gets that deadlift, 268.5, that would put her in that sixth spot. But if she misses, it could be a decent jump and she can fall all the way down to 10th. So I personally have her at a 713.5 total, which would be good for sixth in my books. But I could easily see her ending up around 700 if she just takes a decent jump. I still think she probably should take that jump because by the time you get to sixth, the payout jumps are no longer huge, and the 5,000 pounds for the world record is worth it. So if it's a reasonable attempt, I think she probably will take that attempt. But I think sixth is being optimistic, but I'm still going to put her there. Okay, so let's move on to number five. Adriana, who do you have for number five?
All right, for number 5, I've got my girl Natalie Richards. I'm always rooting for her. We're both represent the Carolinas. So we've got Natalie Richards in pulling into 5th. And I mean her training, like she posts what she wants in a sense. Like she has said, like she hides training, but she's not gonna post nothing. Like she posted, I think it was a 501-pound deadlift, which is just insane. 227.5 for listeners who do not use freedom units. And her bench, I don't remember exactly what she posted, but I think it was either 110 or 112.5. So I just have her going at 110 just to kind of, and Matt Gary's coaching her too. So that's kind of why I have her like placing relatively high. And her squat, she hasn't really posted much of her squat except for back downs, but her back downs are really looking good. And I don't know, maybe it's just the American pride in me, but but I have her going around 523.5 kilo total, and that would break the world record by let me see. It'd be about 2% or a little bit more. So, and it would be wow, the good lift point, I think I don't want to like spoil my other picks, but that would place her at like a really high good lift score too, around like 123.8.
Okay. Ish, who do you have at number five?
So me, I also have Natalie Richards at number 5. So with Natalie, I think the issue Natalie has though is because her world record total is so high already. Like it makes it harder for her um to basically win this meet. So I think she might end the meet with like the highest GL points, but probably won't win. So in terms of predictions for lifts, I think squat she will possibly go above the world record. So obviously she's not posting her heaviest singles, but I think the most impressive thing she did post was a back of triple PR with I think it was 172.5. So considering that's a back off, but that just tells me she probably did go above the world record in training, which is currently at 185.5. So I do think she will go above that. And bench, her heaviest she's done is 110, which looks kind of clean. So I'll say probably 2.5 more. And then deadlift, 227.5 kilos, which she done in the gym. Now, historically, from what I've seen, she generally actually gets a bit from a taper on deadlifts as well. Like if you compare her heaviest deadlift leading into Worlds compared to what she'd done at Worlds, moved a lot faster. So I think she might deadlift between 230 to 235 on the platform. So I think she will total between 528.5 to 580, 533.5 kg. I'm pretty lenient with like my estimations because I think they were gonna. Well, I try and think they're gonna perform, but in terms of, I do think Natalie is one of the lifters who is more likely to hit her lifts compared to others.
Yeah, so this is funny. Okay, so all three of us have Natalie at 5th. Now, for me, this is actually very different than my 6th pick. By number 5, I actually have a very close battle all the way from 3 to 5. I have 3 through 5 separated by like 0.2%, 0.02%. So literally, like somebody deciding to chip by an extra like kilo would make that difference. Like if she, let's say, took an extra kilo, like squat when she breaks the world record, let's say, and takes an extra kilo, like that would make the difference. So I can see her easily finishing anywhere between 3rd and 5th. And honestly, by the numbers, I have her in 5th. But I think that, well, not to say who the people ahead of her are yet, but I think they're going to be in head-to-head battles where people might have to push and miss. So I would not be surprised at all if she finished 3rd. Um, so to reiterate what you both said already, her squat has looked insane. The 172.5 triple. I do think she's capable of breaking the current world record squat, but I don't think she will end up with the current world record squat because I think Jod has maybe a slightly higher top end on squat and also is a little bit more aggressive versus Natalie is going to attempt to go 9 for 9 and put up the biggest total to place as high as she can in the meet. So I think like she will take it. At least I think her 3rd attempt will be above the world record squat currently, but I don't think she'll finish with the world record squat. Now bench also, I think around 110, 112.5 is probably what we're going to see. And then deadlift also, the 227.5 was nice. I think her top end is probably around where the world record deadlift is. I think she could probably pull like 231.5, 232 if necessary. And I think it probably will be necessary. So I think she probably will have to attempt to break the world record deadlift to get her like that top 3 placing, which she's capable of. But it's also possible they're a little bit more conservative because she might, instead of pulling for 3rd, or maybe even people miss and she has to pull a little bit less for 3rd, or maybe like they try to pull for 4th just to like, because since people are pretty closely gapped all around, like it could be a difference between like 7th and like 3 or 4 spots. So I have her down as a 531 total, which would be insane and would be breaking the world record by 3.6%. But I think those are all high end but reasonable attempts. And I think if she does hit those numbers, she probably will finish above 5th just because people are going to miss. And I trust Matt Gary and I trust Steve Denovi. And I think she probably will execute and go 9 for 9. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. Adriana, who do you have for number 4?
That's actually a really like perfect segue for me because obviously I have Natalie in 5th, and my 4th place spot I only have at like 0.04% above. And for that I have Leah Bavois in 4th. And I honestly like agree with a lot of your points. Like I think she's capable of a lot. I have her around a 561 total. And honestly, I think she's capable of like 570 plus. But in my mind, I just kind of saw her being pushed so much that she misses that 3rd deadlift. Like pushed by other people who will be in the top 3 in my rankings. But I just saw her being pushed, and I could definitely see like my 4th and 5th place swapping between Natalie and Leah. And that kind of comes down to what you said, Mike. Like, will Natalie have that extra 0.5 kilo on the squat record that pushes her above, or just kind of depending like what Leah, it's such an interesting meet. And I imagine it's like one of the most, or probably the most difficult meet to handle at. Because like if you're Leah or if you're Natalie, you kind of have to think about beating, like for Natalie, you're trying to beat the other person in your weight class. You're trying to win that battle, but at the same time, you're gonna have to pull for fourth, fifth, third, like wherever you end up. So yeah, I could see those flip-flopping, but I'll say Leah for fourth place. All right. Ish, who do you have for fourth?
Yeah, so I'll go next. So like Mike said, I also have 3 to 5 being very close. Now in fourth, I also have Leah Bavois. Now, if I look at my predictions, yeah. So I actually have, in terms of predictions, my fourth and third pick at the exact same total, but I have Leah behind just because the total is a bit more speculative in terms of like what she's posted. So in terms of Leah, I think she'll take the squat world record. She currently holds it herself, which is at 211.5 kilos. Yeah, 211.5 kilos, but she's been doing some insane rep works, like 200 for 6, and she's done multiple back off triples with 205. So I think she'll probably squat between 215 to 220. She hasn't really posted bench, so she'd probably, I think, just match what her current best is, 115, or go a bit above. She's like 2.5 kilos above. Deadlift, she hasn't posted at all as well. I think her all-time best deadlift PO is like 231, but considering her squat has been going very well, she might go above. I think probably 230 to 235 being reasonable with estimates. I think the advantage that these 69s have though is that the world record is so low that yeah, they have a massive advantage with this. So yeah, I have Leah at number 4. But yeah, I think my total is about 570 for her, but that's very speculative because she hasn't posted a bench and deadlifts at all. So she could be lower than that as well.
Okay. Yeah, so this is great. I'm actually gonna do my 4 and 3 back to back now because again, we all had the same at number 4. Now I actually have my number 3 and 4. 4, I'm gonna put Leah, and then 3 Corolla. I'll explain why in a second, but I have them both at the exact same total of 570. Now Leah's squat has been like extremely impressive. She's gonna break the world record squat, and I gather she might do that on her second attempt and then push past that in her third. Like Ish already stated, and Adriana, you both stated right. We haven't seen so much bench or deadlift. I'm gonna have her. I have her at 117 and a half on bench, which would be a 2.5 kilo PR, and then deadlift I have her at 235. Now, this is a little interesting one. The reason why I have her at 7, I mean, the reason why I have her at 4 and Corolla at 3 is just because sometimes having the bigger deadlift is the clear advantage. It almost always is. This is one of the cases where it's a little bit not as clear because you're not going against one person. You're battling against, let's just say it's like 4 or 5 because you're not battling against all 12. You're battling against people in your range. And Corolla, her deadlift is much lower, but her deadlift is she's just going to put what she can hit, and that'll be it. Leah's going to have like a big decision on her deadlift. So I have her down at 235. I think she could hit that, but I could easily see her either jumping a little bit too high and missing and then falling probably down at least one spot, or going a little bit lower to be safe and then not getting that number. So while I have her at 570, I'm a little bit less confident in her hitting 570 than I am Corolla also 570. So for Corolla, I have her at a 212.5 squat, which would be right above the world record. Her squat is very good, and I think she could chip it, but she's not gonna. I don't think she's gonna keep it because I think Leah will be well. I think Leah will be well above that in her third squat. Her bench is very good. In most worlds, she would probably be breaking the bench world record, which is 144. But in this case, I have her at 145, which will not be breaking the world record bench. We'll discuss that more later. And then I put her down for 212.5 on deadlift as well, the same as her squat. She generally squats and deadlifts around in the same range, but I think she's pretty capable of that. It could be even more. Like she had switched from sumo to conventional, and now she's had longer training with it. We haven't really seen any top ends from her posting, so it's possible that she has a little bit more. But I'm more confident. Like I have a much higher confident percentage that she hits 570 than Leah does, even though maybe her top end is slightly lower. I'm like fairly like I don't. I think I'm pretty confident that she's between 565 and 570, and I think she'll make her lifts, and I think that'll be good enough for third. Now we'll go backwards. So Ish, who do you have at 3?
Yeah, I have the same pick as you. I have Corolla at number 3. Just the main reason for that is I'm more confident that she's hit that based on what she's posted. So a lot of it's my idea for what she's going to total comes from what she done at Italian nationals. So Italian nationals, she weighed in as this was at the beginning of January, I think. She weighed in as like a 66.1 kg lifter, so very light still. She smoked the 210 kg squat. It looked like she had probably another 5 kilos in her, 5, 7.5. Bench, she done 144, I think it was, and it looked like she probably had another 2.5 to 5. I'd probably say she benched 145 though, and then deadlift, I think she had like another 5 in her as well. So her range to me was probably about 570 to 575 for Corolla. Yeah, I'd say I'm more confident in Corolla because she's actually posted like more recently in terms of her recent training on all 3 lifts.
Adriana, who do you have at number 3?
I also have Corolla. Dang, we literally have the same picks. Hopefully for the guys, it'll be a little more different.
Yeah.
But I won't reiterate all of the same reasoning. Pretty much, I literally thought the exact same thing as Mike. I was like, I think Corolla, I actually had her at like a 215.5 squat, just because like Ish said at Italian Nationals, she hit 210 and it was like insanely easy. She also did 140 by 3 on bench in training that she posted. It looked like RPE like 8 or even like 7, which is just crazy. Like she's kind of on she could be on par with like Agatha potentially. They could be like taking the world records from each other. I had her at 147.5 kilo bench. Her bench is like it's interesting because I remember, maybe I'm like extrapolating too much, but I remember at Worlds, I think this past year, her bench just kind of looks like it's fast until it isn't, if that makes sense. Because at Worlds, I believe she hit 142.5 and then went for the world record at 145.5. And 142.5 looked like so easy, like RPE 7-8, and then she'd miss just 3 kilos more. So I guess that's just like the style that she benches. But yeah, basically I have her hitting all her lifts because she knows how to execute. I have her at like around 570, and like I said, I have Leah in 4th place around like 560 to 565, and I thought the exact same thing as Mike. Like I think Corolla will just be able to hit that last deadlift. She'll just do what she can, you know what I mean? Where Leah will be kind of in this spot where she's deadlifting kind of around Agatha, kind of around Natalie. Like she'll have that tough choice for her deadlift. So just in my mind, I think she'll overextend herself and then Corolla will end up in 3rd.
Okay. Now, before we move to number 2, I should just make one point that I didn't mention and probably should have, which is that we all think that both Corolla and Leah are capable of breaking the squat world record. And I think we all also think that Leah's going to end up squatting a little bit more. Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what I should mention, though, is that since neither of them will probably end up having a chip on either bench or deadlift, if Leah just takes that extra chip on squat, that might actually be smart because it'll mean that for her to win against Corolla, she'll only have to win by half a kilo versus like Corolla having to win by 2 kilos. Between those two, obviously, there's a lot of other people, but I mean, I would assume that for their coaches, they're gonna have an idea of who the people in the range are, and I assume they both know that the other one is pretty close. So if I was Leah and trying to at least just have that extra advantage in that one spot, I would take that extra half kilo, whatever it is. So if Corolla squats, let's say 215, then take whatever 218 or something with an extra half kilo. Or if Corolla takes 213, then 218.5 or 221, whatever it is. So I think that's just something that is actually that's a bigger advantage I think here than the bigger deadlift is in this case.
Yeah, I mean, I
Now,
completely agree because, sorry, I cut you off, but like I had Corolla going like 215. I kind of like when I did this, I kind of like played scenarios in my head, like what are these lifters thinking? Like, are they gonna pull into placing in that last third deadlift? And yeah, for the squats, I kind of had it playing out where Corolla takes 215.5 and then Leah just goes above and hits. I had her at 221 personally. Maybe that's a little ambitious, but I don't know. Her squats have been looking like crazy.
no, but in that case, she would have that extra chip. When I
Yeah,
did my projections,
exactly.
I actually didn't factor that in, which it's not going to change my decision, but it gives her an advantage that I did not actually plug in. So that
Right.
is something to
Like
know.
maybe she'll need to pull like 232.5 rather than 235. So it's
Right.
like usually at Sheffield people think that, oh, the chips like they don't necessarily matter that much. Like I've kind of heard that take, but in this case it'd be like really important for Leah's coaches to think about like out chipping Corolla.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay. So let's move on to number two and we'll go back that way. So Adriana, who do you have at number two?
Okay, in number 2, I've got Evie Corrigan. Her training has looked okay, we probably all have the same thing, but her training has looked like insane. And to me, it's just insane that like I would not be surprised or shocked if she ended up winning again, which is just like crazy because like Sheffield is a meet where it's extremely difficult to win back to back because you're pushing that world record so high and then you're trying to push it so much higher just a year later. So yeah, I have Evie in second. In the gym, I believe she just posted this actually. So kudos to us for for recording a little late, but she posted she hit 165 on squat. It looked comfortable. So I have her going anywhere between like 167.5 and 170. I think she'll probably play a little more conservative and do 167.5. Um she also hit, I believe it was 106 on bench. Like she's been hitting around like 104, 105, 106 pretty consistently. So I have her going around there. And then deadlift, she posted 200 kilo deadlift, and it was there, or I think today she might have even posted 205, and it was pretty comfortable. So I do have her taking that deadlift world record at, I believe it's at 208. So yeah, I think it's at 208. So I do have her taking that. Um yeah, and I have her totaling around like 480, which is just like mind-blowing to think about as a 52 kg lifter, and mind-blowing that she could potentially win. But yeah, I do have her in second place. I think she's gonna really push the person who I have in first place. Um, so yeah.
Okay. Ish, who do you have at second?
Yeah, our picks are too boring, man. Like we all have the same thing for women. So I think yeah, I have Evie exactly in second as well. Yeah, her training has been going really good. I mean, I remember last year there was a battle between her and well, actually, Noemi's not in my top six, but yeah, there was a battle. But I think she's really solidified herself as the queen of the 52s now. Like her training just kept going, getting better as she's stayed in the weight class. So as you, her latest training she just posted was as Adriana mentioned earlier, 165 kg squat, which looked pretty easy. I think she'll do 2.5 more. on meet day. Her bench, she's been at 105 like for the last few weeks. So I think she'll just repeat that. And deadlift, just to get the extra 5K cash. I think she done 205 in training, but I think she'll try and chip the world record just to get the extra money. So her total, I have at 480.5, which is just about 5% above the world record total, which I think as long as if the person number one starts slipping up and missing lifts, then Evie can become a double Sheffield champion. But
Yeah.
yeah, Evie has to go 9 for 9 and hope that whoever's in first has misses.
Yeah, so again, we're all in agreement here. Now, my thing with Evie is I think she's the only lifter here capable of beating who I'm going to later say is in first. So, the world record squat's 173. She just did 170 at her last meet. Obviously, she was heavy. She was 55.4. It was a local meet. I think based off training, I think it's possible that she can hit that. I don't think she'll take it. Bench her, she hit her comp best, which was 104 at this last meet. She hit 105 in training. It looks good. I have her at 105. Deadlift as well. She hit 210 in that last meet, being heavier. She's hit 205 in training. I think the world record currently is 208. I think she's definitely capable of breaking that, but um, once you get into that top two slot, the pay jumps are actually pretty large, and I think securing second or potentially um, making a shot at first, especially since she'll be pulling before the person I have in first. So trying to like at least overtake first for then might be a better scenario. And she in general makes attempts. So I think we'll probably see a little bit more on the conservative side. I have her going around 170, 105, 205, but I think that which would be 480. But I think if they push, it's possible that she can break both records and go 173.5, 105, 209, which would put her at 487.5. So I think that would have her at almost 6% above the world record. She was our surprise champion last year, and I think she's the only person here capable of potentially unseating my number one. And I am pretty confident that she does make the top two. So I think she's going to hit lifts. It might end up being lower than this because she won't need this for second. I don't see any scenario where she needs more than like a little bit more than 4%. So she can probably like shave off a couple of kilos on each of those lifts and secure second if she wants. So I think she's going to come in second. And then I'll just go to our first, which I think we're all in agreement is Agata Shitko. Um, some people have been doubting it a little bit. I've heard different people say different things. Some people said like we shouldn't get so used to people having great performances after cutting just because like Evie did it last year and Tim did it at Worlds. But honestly, and another thing people say is like she isn't known for the best attempt selection and execution. But the reason why I have her and like a pretty clear first is just all those things might be true, but I don't think they matter. I mean, we've talked about why these 69s are all towards the top, and it's because the world record's low. And Agatha doesn't have to hit massive PRs. She doesn't. She doesn't even necessarily need to hit like like any PRs, and she can still be the favorite to win. I have her down as having a 195 squat, which is 7.5 below her best squat. Um, she said her squat's feeling good and that she's in the range of her best. I don't think she's going to need it, and I hope she doesn't take it because it just you're leaving way too much at risk. For bench, the world record is 144. She's going to open over that. She'll probably open 145. Um, I think she's capable of like 152, 155 for sure. Um, and then for deadlift, the world record's 240. She's hit 240 in training multiple times, and she's also hit 240 in a meet, obviously in a heavier weight class, but still deadlift gets affected less. I have her down as hitting 240.5 to take that deadlift world record as well, because I think there's a good chance that her second deadlift is enough to already have secured first place. Like if she comes in, if she's 8 for 8, like plays a little more conservative and is 8 for 8, she most likely will have already won Sheffield on her third attempt, and then why not go for the extra 5,000? So that's I have her down at a 590.5 total, which is 7.5% above the world record. And I am very confident in her winning. And to all the other people who have discussed this, I will be taking bets against this, and I'll lay 2-1 on any other competitors. So any experts that think she's not going to win, I'll give you 2-1. And now let's move on to your guys' number ones.
All right. I also have Agata. I also have Agata Shiko at number 1. And I'm not gonna be redundant and reiterate all your points, but when I was trying to figure out like how this is gonna play out, like playing with the numbers, even with like conservative attempts, like because I mean she's known like her attempt selection sometimes isn't the best, and she's got the cut and blah blah blah. She has to travel. Even with conservative attempts, like I have her at a 185 squat, a 155.5 bench. Maybe that's not that conservative, but whatever. I believe in her. I think she can hit it. I mean, she said she was aiming for 160, so I kind of had her like missing that potentially on the third and ending up with her second, um, which is still massive. And then even with the 235 deadlift on top of that, um, I have her at around a 575 total, which would win it all by far. And the only reason I don't have her taking the deadlift world record is just kind of because I played the squat a little conservative. I think this was before she posted like she did 190. So I was just playing it a little more conservative, you know. Um, but even still, like I think she will win. I think potentially if she misses some attempts, then Evie could pull into first. Since she will be going first, like earlier on, and then Agatha, being the heavier deadlifter, will literally just need to take what she needs, which I imagine will be anywhere from 232.5 to 240. And yeah, I think she's got it in the bag.
I think after doing like my calculations and stuff, I think Agatha is the clear favorite to win. So obviously we all know she's cutting down from 76 to 69, but she's been cutting, but she's basically been losing nothing off her total. Like her squat has taken a tiny hit, but her bench and deadlift has stayed the same, and you can see with the progress. Like weeks ago, months ago, she was 72 kg, 582.5. Last month, 71, 582.5. Just recently, she just done 582.5, and she's below 70 kilos now. Like she's just been hitting 582.5 literally every single week for the last few months, and if she just literally needs to repeat what she's been doing every single day for the last few months, and she'll win. And that's at a low end as well, because the 582.5 she just recently did. I think her squat, she squatted 190. I think she has another 5 in the tank. Her bench, she did 152.5. I think she'll probably just repeat that on meet day with the meet day pauses. Before I was worried about bench depth, but I saw on her story, she hasn't posted it on her post, but on the story that she recorded from the bench depth angle, and she started sinking her benches, and her bench depth looked way better than before. Like it looked like there was no issue anymore. So that's the one doubt that I had that was removed. I don't think she's gonna have bench depth issues anymore. And deadlift, yeah, she's done 240 multiple times in training. She just done it again. It looked like she had more in the tank, so she will definitely, I believe, go above the world record. And I think out of all the people on this list, she's the only one that can actually miss lifts and still win. Like she can go below what she's been doing every single week, which is 582.5, and she can still win this. Whereas everyone else has to go 9 for 9. So I think just everything lines up to show that she's the heavy favorite to win this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I also wanted to add in that a lot of people, like Mike said, are doubting her, like saying the cut doesn't always turn out well. She doesn't make a lot of attempts. Like even though she's young and even though she may miss a few attempts, she's very, very experienced. I mean, in Sheffield last year, she was on the brink of bombing out, as we all know, on bench, and she came back and hit it and stayed in the meet. At World Games, yes, it's equipped, but she almost bombed out on bench, and she came back, she hit it, won the whole meet, her first World Games. Like I think she's just different. I think she doesn't even though I'm a proponent of going 9 for 9 and executing, and I usually put those people to win. I think for her, it's just she's just different. Like she will win regardless. Like Itch said, she needs to repeat what she's been doing almost every single week for the past like 2-3 months.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah.
just like to add the last thing is like these people are right. She hasn't executed the best. But let me just point something out there, which is in her last 6 meets, while missing plenty of attempts in a lot of these meets, 5 out of the 6 meets, she went 582 and a half plus. 5 out of
Mhm.
her last 6 meets. So, and that's with missing the lifts. So even if she does miss lifts, like Ish said, like she's the only one who can win without going 9 for 9. I think if she goes 8 for 9, she's almost a lock to win. I think it's possible she goes 7 for 9 and win. If she misses, because keep in mind, like when she misses if she misses lifts, she's not like hitting something like way below her max and then missing. Like if she misses her third bench, she's still gonna end up with like 150 or something. Like she's not taking like she's not like it's not like she's gonna miss a squat at like hit 185 and then miss 200. She's gonna be taking smaller jumps on everything. And even if she goes 7 for 9, she would still be my favorite. And I think she could execute. Her bench depth is doesn't look like an issue anymore. And I think she's in the past she's been competing against 76s and she hasn't been the favorite. So part of the missing is she had to push. Here she doesn't. So she could play it safer. So that's just one thing to add before we move on to the second half of the ranking. So we'll start with number
Oh, wait,
12.
wait, wait. I wanted to add one more thing too. Like, yeah, people say like she doesn't have the best attempt selection. Her past two meets, she's gone 8 for 9. At Worlds, against Carlina, that big showdown. Like people were kind of saying Carlina will win, just like with no like with room. You know what I mean? Like no real like yeah, Agatha and Jess were there to push her, but Carlina was the heavy favorite. And then Agatha comes in and she hits 230 on her second deadlift. It's hard. Like it's not that hard, but it's like relatively hard. Like I thought she only had like 5 kilos left in the tank. She goes up 10 kilos to pull for the win and she hits it and it's like insane. And then Carlina just comes out and has a grinder of a deadlift to pull back into first. So she almost won the 76. Like I think she's really matured as a lifter, honestly, and she knows how to execute. She also did girl power in October and she went 8 for 9. And I think the only reason she missed her last deadlift was because she just it was kind of a YOLO deadlift. Like she just wanted the deadlift PR. But now like Mike said, like she doesn't necessarily have to push to get in that first place spot.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go from 12 to 7 now. So for number 12, I have one of the only two lifters on this list who I think good chance does not actually break the world record total. And this is Noemi Albert. So last year I actually had her winning it all, and she very easily could have. There was obviously the surprise cut by Evie, but what people like don't even mention is that Noemi still pulled for the win. Like she still pulled something within reach for the win. Like she was right there. Now this year, like she went back to Worlds. It wasn't really like the best battle. Like I mean, it wasn't so far off, but like it never really looked like she could win. Her deadlift is looking really good. She hit like a 190 double that looked good. I think she's capable of breaking the world record of 208. And in this case, since I don't think she's really going to be fighting for the overall rankings, I would very much assume that she does take a shot at that deadlift world record. Benches, I have her down at 87 and a half. I think it's probably gonna be in that range. Nothing. I haven't seen anything that shows me like anything more than that. And then squat. Previously, like she was in that world record territory, but unless she's hiding stuff, her training does not look like she's in that 173 range. So I probably expect to see more like something in the 165 range on squat, which would put her like right around the world record total. But obviously, that's assuming she actually hits all these lifts. So I have her in 12, and I think she could possibly like move up to 11th, but I don't really see how she can get past 11th or 12th. Um, Ish, who do you have for 12?
Okay, so we're finally gonna start different. I have in last place, I have Tiffany. Now, even though I have her in last place, I think she can make more money than most of the people here because I think from her training, her squat and bench are going well. Like she just squatted 161.5, which is above the world record. Although she's heavy right now, it wasn't too difficult. I think it was the fastest I've seen her squat that kind of weight. So I think she will just chip her world record and do that 161.5. And then bench, the current world record is 99.5. She has benched 100 kilos multiple times in training, and she actually attempted 105 as well. So I think she will just chip the bench world record as well. Deadlift is the one that seems to have gone worse. So I think the most recent deadlift post was a 150 kg conventional, and that didn't look too easy as well. So I'm thinking maybe she's dealing with some sort of injury on her deadlift or something. But yeah, it's because her deadlift has gone down quite a bit. I don't think she's gonna break the world record total at all, but I do think she will do well with her squat and bench. I have
All
her
right.
97.2% of the world record total.
All right. Cool. I'll go next. In 12th place, I also have Tiffany Chapon. So we're all kind of thinking the same thing. But for all the reasons Ish stated, I think she hasn't said anything on social media, or if she did, it was in French and I couldn't read it. But yeah, I think she could be dealing with like a back injury or something of the sort that makes her not able to push her sumo. But yeah, I mean, when I was making this, I also considered the fact that she could be hiding all her training and then come out and do sumo like 180 kilo deadlift or something. But most likely not. I mean, she's the type to post her training. So I had her kind of the same thought as Ish. I had her chipping that world record squat. For bench, I have her missing the 100 just because she did silent worker meet in, I believe, like December, and she did 100, but it was like the craziest grinder ever. So I just have her missing the 97 or missing that record with the cut and everything. And I think she'll end up with 97.5. And then deadlift was kind of just a wild card. So I just said around 160. She did 155 in the gym. So yeah, I think she may like try to break the world record, like just a YOLO on her last deadlift, but I think she'll end up around like, I don't know, anywhere from like 410 to 420. So that's why I had her in 12th.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go to my number 11, which is Tiffany. So we had same idea. I just so obviously so what Ish said was very true, which is that she will walk away with more money than most. It does look like she will be able to break that world record squat. Like I have her at 161 and a half, just chipping that world record squat. Same thing with bench. I have her down at 100, chipping the world record bench. Now deadlift obviously is the bigger mystery because she hasn't posted anything heavy recently. We're not sure if she's injured. So I'm not sure where that's gonna end up. She could easily like I have her close enough to Noemi that like if she really is injured and she's pulling like 160, then I would have her in 12th. But if like either she's some healthy enough or if like hiding something and she's more like 170, 172, then I would have that would put her in 11th for me. So I'm gonna have her in 11th and just assume she's also probably gonna be somewhere around the world record total, either like a little bit below if deadlift is down or like maybe slightly breaking it if deadlift is better than we would expect. So I have her in 11th.
Okay.
Yeah, who do you got?
So yeah, for me in number 11, I have Noni Albert. So with Noemi, yeah, her deadlift looks to be pretty good. Like she doubled 190 for PR, but she hasn't really posted any squat or bench. And looking at her meet history, it seems like her squat seems to be a bit down as well. Like she used to be above 170, but her most recent meet, she only squatted 165. I don't know, either training's going bad or maybe she's injured. Her bench has been stagnant for a few years, so she's been about that 87.5 kilo mark uh, recently as well. So I think she'll probably bench about 87.5 kilos again. So I have her at I have her at probably giving the benefit of the doubt, just matching her best squats, so about 170 kilos. She probably just match her best bench. I think she'll deadlift a PR. I think she'll deadlift about 2.5 to 205. So I think she'll be just about the current world record total, but because Evie's, I think, is way higher right now, that isn't going to do too well overall in the overall rankings. Yeah, she's my number 11, Nomi Albert.
Okay.
Adriana, who do you have in number 11?
I also have Noemi Alibert. I won't say everything again. Basically the same reasoning as you guys. I will add that, like, I don't know if her squat at Worlds, she did miss either 2 or I think she missed 2 squats on depth. And that was just kind of like a big factor for me. Like, I think she could potentially try the world record squat, but she's just not really like posting anything. She usually doesn't post, but when she does post, it kind of looks like, oh, maybe squats aren't like going as well as they were like last year Sheffield's prepped. So I just have her at like kind of a middle ground, like 165-ish squat. And then same thing as you guys. I think she may try the world record deadlift at the end because it's like, why not? You have nothing to lose. I don't think she'll hit that just because it's like a bit above her personal best. But yeah, so I have her at 11 with 97.8% of the world record.
Okay, so moving on to number 10. This is where we're probably going to start to have a little bit more disagreements. I actually have Brittany Schlater. Now, I think as far as I know, I'm the only person who has anything to do with powerlifting that actually gave her a chance to win at Worlds this year. So I'll give myself credit for that, even though I did not say she was going to win, but I had her right in that range and nobody else did. But either way, I have her in like around the 285 kilo range on squat, which like right now is right under the world record. But by the time she's on her third attempt, the world record will have already been pushed a lot. So she won't. I don't think she'll be taking a world record attempt. Her bench always is just good and like always looks like they're a little more in the tank. I have her down at 157.5 for bench. And then for deadlifts, her deadlifts have been looking really clean. Like she's hit 255 in prep, and she doesn't go all out in prep. Like she hits more in meets than prep every single time. I think I have her pulling 262.5, which would give her a 705 total. Now, while I have her in 10th, when I mentioned Sonita for 6th, I said her range is very big and she could miss like a lift and that could drop her all the way down. I think there's a reasonable chance that Brittany ends up beating Sonita. I think I'm pretty confident in these numbers for Brittany. Like, I don't think her top end is much more than this. Like, I have her at 705. I would be shocked if she totals more than, let's say, 710, like 710, maybe, but like probably in that like 705, 707, 702 range. But I'm very comfortable with that. Like, I don't think she's going to total less than that. Like, I don't see her totaling under 700. She makes lifts. She's a smart lifter. So I have her in 10th, but I could easily see her moving all the way up to maybe not to 6th because it would take multiple people in front of her missing, but definitely potentially into the top 7. Ish, who do you have at number 10?
So in number 10, I have Amanda Lawrence. So obviously Amanda is one of the greatest of all times, but obviously her issue is that because her world record total is so high, it's gonna be hard for her to do well in the overall rankings. Now, her training has been going very well. I think obviously the current world record was 249 kilos held by her. I mean, she done 260 like 2 weeks ago, and she's just done 250 as her last heaviest squat. Now, I think Amanda is in a similar situation to Tiffany, where she won't do well in the overall rankings, but she can get a lot more money than most people. So that 260 that she done looked like an RP11 grind. So I don't think she's gonna go for 260. She'll probably just do enough to go above her current squat world record. So I think 250, 255, then save herself for deadlift so she can get more money on that as well. Chip her current world record there. She done 265 as her heaviest deadlift. That looked a bit hard. That's why I'm saying she's probably not going to push her squats as hard, so she can get that extra 5K cash grab by getting the deadlift world record. I think she'll attempt that. I don't know if she benefits a lot from a taper or not, but I think she will attempt it regardless because for her the main thing is the records rather than her overall rankings. And bench, she benched 132.5, about similar range to what she's done overall so far. So I think I have her about, if she's able to get her final deadlift as well, at 659 kg, which is about 2% above the world record. Now that is an amazing total, but obviously because the world record is already so high, it's not going to do too well in the overall rankings. But yeah, I have Amanda in 10th overall.
All right.
Adriana, who do you have?
This was hard. Like, I agree. I think the like 7 through 10th range, or even like 5 through 10 range, is like very, very difficult to pick. Like I was about to switch, but I'll stick with what I have. I also had Amanda at 10th. Her training has been insane, but she is just facing that like incredibly high world record at 645 set by herself. So I had her, she did do the 260 squat and training, like Ish said. I think usually she does do these like insane squats in training. And then on the platform, it's just like she can't exactly replicate that. Like, I don't know if it's like the cut or just like traveling across the world, but usually it's like a little bit less. So I had her around like 253 squat, 255.5. And I don't remember exactly what she did. Oh, I found it. So last Sheffield prep, she did a 255 squat in training. We're like, wow, like she's gonna do 255, 260. And then she ends up doing, I think it was like 246.5. And it was like an all-out grinder. So almost 10 kilos below what she does in training. So that's kind of why, like, I think she will push that record, but just not as much as some people may think. Bench, same thing as Ishtyaq. I had 132.5. Deadlift, I think she will go for that record. And I think it's just like a gut feeling in me. I could see her hitting it, but I just had put that she doesn't hit it and just ends up with her second attempt just because she is going to be squatting over 250 kilos, like 255. And I think last year, like the judging may be stricter this year. And last year, initially looking at that world record deadlift, like I thought they could have called like one of her shoulders for being soft, just initially looking. But then after I was like, okay, I think it's clean. But if they're going to be potentially more strict this year, then I could see her missing that deadlift either on soft shoulders or just plain strength. So yeah, I have her in 10th place. And I do have her going above the world record, but just by a little bit, like a chip or like potentially 5 kilos or so.
Okay, so moving on to number 9. At number 9, I have Carlina. So her squat looks very good in training. The current world record's 225.5. She's going to break that. I think she's going to be probably in the 230 range, something around there. Bench has looked pretty good. I expect probably like 127.5, which is a slight boost on her previous bench. And then for deadlift, around like 255. So I have her at like 612.5, which would be right around 2% above the world record total. I have like number 9 through number 7 is separated by almost nothing. So depending on who makes attempts, I can see her in any of those spots. But I'm gonna leave her at number 9. Ish, who do you have at number 9?
Yeah, so for me, I have the same pick as you. I have Carlina in number 9. So for Carlina, I think the main thing for her is obviously the squat world record. I think she will definitely go above it. She done 231 in training. Obviously, it was very hard, but the world record is 225.5, so she doesn't have to go as hard as that on the meet. Her bench has been going really well. Like she's just did 124 for a double and 127 kg for a single as well. So I think she might bench between 127.5 to 130. Her deadlift, she done 243 kilos. It didn't look like she had too much more, probably not 5, but she said that she normally peaks well for deadlifts on meet day. So I'll say probably another 10 kilos there. So for me, yeah, I have her total at 230 plus 130, yeah, 615 kilos. Let's just say if she deadlifts 255, which is just above 2% above the world record. I think her and Brittany will be very close because Brittany, obviously, a lot of Brittany's training is very speculative because she doesn't post well. She doesn't post often, which I'll just go on to my next pick as well. Brittany number 8. So as I mentioned earlier, Brittany doesn't post very often. She doesn't post very often. But in terms of her bench, she has been posting. She doubled 145, which she said was a PR. Her current best is 155, so I think she might go 5 kilos above her current meet PR. Her heaviest squat that she just done was 270. But given what she was saying in the camp shoot, she seems to be very confident that she'd be doing a lot more meet days. So I'd say she's gonna squat a meet PR as well. Probably about 3 kilos above what she's currently done. Deadlift, yeah, her deadlift has been looking very fast through all of training. I think she's just done 255, which was pretty quick. And then knowing her, because she does generally lift very light in training, I think she will take the deadlift world record because I'm more confident in her deadlift lockouts than I am with Sunita, who I mentioned earlier as my number 6.
So
But
you think she's going to get
you
up
had
to
Sonita.
268 range?
Sorry?
You think she's going to have her deadlift up to the 268 range?
He's cutting out again, but I assume he does. Yeah.
It was 269 the current one. 268, yeah, I actually do.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see that. I would love to see her break that record and like move way ahead of what I have her down. Okay.
Yeah.
Adriana, who do you have at number 9?
Well, before I give my pick, wait, Ish, so you have Brittany in 8, and then you have Sonita winning that battle. Is that just because
Yeah.
like Sonita's squat is gonna be like it's just gonna like blow her total out of the water?
Yeah, that's literally why.
Okay.
Because I mean, she's been talking about 700 pounds as well. So
Oh my
I don't
God.
know. I don't know what her top end was going to be.
Yeah. I don't know either. I mean, it's incredible. Okay. For number 9, sorry, so boring. I also have Carlita. I won't say everything, but I think she can squat around what she did in training, like 231. I think she stood up with let me see. She stood up with 232 at Sheffield last year, and they called it on up down. So that really like took a hit on her total. And it was like, I think it may have paused but not gone up down. Obviously, I'm not in the judge's chair. So maybe it did, but if it did, it was like by the tiniest margin. So I think she'll get redemption on that this year. And then her deadlift, like I think her deadlift is just the one that's the wild card for me. Like I think she can do around 255, like kind of like you guys said. And she did almost lock out 260. I think Mike mentioned earlier at New Zealand Nationals potentially. But it was close. Like she almost locked out 260, but she was 80 kg at the time. So I think it's just very hard to go 9 for 9. So I just have her missing that last deadlift. Like potentially just going out of reach to try to pull for 5th or just try to get a higher placing. So yeah, so that's why I don't have her like as high in like the 6, 7, 8 range, but I have her at number 9.
Okay. Why don't you give us your number 8?
Oh yeah, since Ish did. For 8, I've got Jacob. So this was hard for me because her training has been going so well. I think it's just that these women are so close from like 4 through 10. So I think since her focus is on Natalie Richards and beating that weight class battle, like I have her hitting PRs. Like I think she'll be able to take the squat world record. I think her bench, I think she can hit the bench PR. And then that deadlift, I think that Natalie will just like put the total out of reach where Jad just ends up with her second deadlift, unfortunately. And I think like I wouldn't be surprised if Jad ends up in the top 5 and pulls off what she did last year where she hit that last deadlift to win over Joy. But I just have Natalie's total higher. Maybe it is just the American bias. So yeah, I just have her missing that last deadlift and ending up down on the rankings in 8th.
Yeah. So I also have Jod at 8th. Now the thing with me is I know that Jod and Natalie's top ends are very far apart from each other. I think Jod has a slightly stronger squat ceiling and a slightly stronger deadlift ceiling, and obviously a little bit less on bench. But the reason why I have her lower is I just don't think her attempt selection is just as good. And I'm just less confident in her hitting all these top end amounts. So like I think she's gonna take the squat world record, and I think she probably could squat 190. And bench is looking good. Like she hit 102.5. It wasn't easy. Um, Historically speaking, she misses benches in competitions and sometimes takes jumps that are a little bit ill advised. I think she probably ends up with like 100, hopefully 100, because I could easily see her like go 97.5 to 102.5. And then if she misses that, be stuck with 97.5. But I think probably 100 would be a second attempt. And I think she'll hit that. And maybe she'll have 2.5 more for the third, maybe not. And then on deadlift, I think she's definitely capable of breaking the deadlift world record. And that'll come down to what she decides, because by my numbers, I'll have her a little bit behind, not crazy, but like I'll have her like I have her 7 kilos behind Natalie. Now that means her third deadlift, she can either try to break the world record, she can try to pull. I think she's gonna pull after Natalie, so she can pull to try to pass Nat. Like she can pull to move up multiple spots. Now she thinks she's capable of like insane that like she is, but like she thinks like that she has a lot there, and that theoretically she could load up 235, maybe even a little more. So I think if she jumps too big, she's probably just going to end up missing it, which is why I have her down here as opposed to potentially a little bit higher. But I think even with all that being said, I think I don't really see her going lower than maybe ninth, and I think she could potentially jump up a couple spots. But I'm going to have her in 8th for now. So now we are up to our last spot here, number 7. So here is where I have a little bit different thoughts than both of you. At number 7, I have Amanda Lawrence. Now, Amanda Lawrence, I think in a few years will be considered the greatest female powerlifter of all time. But part of that issue is that she's so dominant in her class. There's nobody close, and the only thing left to do is some people, when there's nobody close, they just sandbag meets. But that's not Amanda Lawrence. Like if you've ever spoken to Amanda in person, like she wants to go all out. She knows she's not gonna have like head-to-head competition. She knows there are certain things that like are gonna hurt her, like Sheffield, obviously. But like she wants to just like show everyone what she could do. So she's pushed the world record to an insane number, right? The world record 645, and she's also pushed the squat and deadlift world records to numbers that she doesn't need to have done, right? Like she could have taken like 15 kilos less at all these world championships, and who knows, we might be talking about her in the contention for winning. So I think she has a shot of being like the highest GL points of all time, but I don't think she really can move past maybe one more spot, maybe to 6, but I think 7 is probably the highest she's going to have. So I think she's going to break the squat world record comfortably. Similar to last year, she's probably going to break it in her second attempt. And last year she took a smaller jump, second to third. I think this year she's probably going to take a larger jump. She'll probably break it, like maybe take like 250 on her second, and I have her going like up to like 258 on her third. It might be lower. It depends. I don't know how heavy she is now. I don't know if she's gonna has to cut like more than like a kilo or two, but I think like anywhere like 255 to 260, probably not 260, but probably like 255, maybe a bit more is in the tank. Haven't seen anything on bench that like shows that it's going like particularly well. she's probably going to bench 130, 132. Like I would be pretty it's going to be one of those two numbers most probably. And then on deadlift, so her deadlift world record's already very high, 268.5. I think she's probably going to take a shot at that 269 because why not? Like, at that point, when you're in seventh or if she's eighth, ninth, whatever it is, she is coming into her last deadlift. The pay jumps just aren't huge, so you might as well go for the 5,000. So I think she's definitely. I mean, I'm just assuming she's going to load 269 for her third, and I think she'll hit it. I mean, I'm not sure about that one at all. Like it's kind of like a 50-50 lift. So I guess if she misses that, she will be a lot closer to where you two had her than where I have her. But I think she's capable of it, and yeah, she's my number 7. Ish, who do you have at number 7?
Yes, so my final spot I have in number 7 is Jacob. Now I think she's the only one out of the people in my bottom 12 who I think can crack into the top 6. I think she can actually get as high as 5th if she has like the perfect day, but I think 6th is a very real possibility given Sunita's deadlift issues in the past. But with Jade, her training has been going pretty well. I just don't think it's been going as well as Natalie. I think she will go above the world record as well. So in terms of squat, I think she will take the squat world record now. I believe both of them will go above, but it just typically Team France is a lot more aggressive in their attempt selections. So I do think she's just going to wait out what Natalie does and then chip whatever Natalie does on the squat. Her bench, yeah, she's benched 100, 102.5 quite a few times in training. I think she'll just be around that range. Her deadlift is the biggest wild card because her deadlift, because of how slow it is off the ground, it's hard to tell how much she has in the tank. Like she's done some crazy sets. The craziest one she done was like it was 1 to 2 months ago where she done 220 for 5 for 57 kg female, which is might be the most impressive deadlift set, female deadlift set of all time just in training. I don't think we haven't seen anything that crazy. But then she deadlifted like 225 for 2. And then her most recent deadlift was actually pretty good, 227.5 for 1. I think her top end could be between like 235 to 240. Because I remember I saw this live as well when I was in Sheffield. I saw her second deadlift attempt. I didn't think she had more in her. And then her third deadlift attempt, she attempted 231. It was stuck on the ground for about 5 seconds before she got it up and locked it out. Like she has that French grinding ability in her, so I have no idea where her deadlift can end up. But yeah, I think her top end, I think if she gets that 240 deadlift is 529. Now, I think her top end is lower than Natalie's, and I'm not as confident that she will hit as well as Natalie, but I do think there is a possibility that she could beat Natalie and get up to 5th, but I think I'm more confident she'll get 7th overall because just based on past data in terms of her attempt selections and how many times she hits as well.
Okay, Adriana, finish it off.
All right, last pick of the women's. I've got Sonita at number 7, just behind Brittany, who I have at number 6. You guys have already said about Sonita. I think she could hit the 300 on the it's the stage to do it. Like it just reminds me of like Jesus going over 1,000 and then hitting what was it like 1,036 last year. So I think she can replicate the 300. It looked pretty clean in training. Bench, I just kind of had her about the same, like 142.5, 145. Because she did say in the post, like her squats have been going off, but that has affected her bench and I think especially deadlift. So I have her at 257.5 deadlift or something like 255, somewhere around there. Like I think she will try to pull after Brittany essentially, and then I think she'll miss just because of the like lockout issues she's had. And I think Brittany will end up winning that class, and Sonita will finish just behind her in the rankings.
Okay, so I guess we actually had a pretty similar. Oh, we had the exact same top 5, which is pretty crazy. But in general, we had pretty similar. We were on mostly the same wavelengths with like we all had like the same few question marks about things. So like a lot of our differences come down to like we have a question mark. Do we think they're gonna get it or not? So we're pretty close together. That wraps up the female side of Sheffield, and now we will move on to the men.